Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arsaholics. Thank you for joining us. And you've got Aaron joining from Budapest. You've got Mize joining from Essex, and you've got me joining from South London.
Put some respect on the name.
Okay, we're going global. Well, nothing can kind of compare to your antics in the Caribbean, mate. You know, I've turned up. I've still got my top on.
I mean, I was pretty battered. As we all were on Sunday, absolutely obliterated. As you know, for those of you tuning on YouTube, you can see I'm in my Arsenal kit. That's because I haven't changed in a few days. You know, I've just been absolutely binging since just the most epic of days on Sunday. And do you know what? I'm really optimistic that we're going to get loads of new listeners today because, you know, I think Arsenal fans everywhere are reading every blog, listening to every podcast, watching highlights in every type of language that they can, because it was just a glorious day. I mean, guys, are you still basking in the awesomeness that was Sunday?
Yeah. I've been waking up last couple of mornings, just woken up extremely happy. Like, you can't really match the buzz of beating Tottenham. It makes your weekend, but it also makes your week, doesn't it? Still buzzing, still got the chants ringing around in my head. We were just singing it, weren't we, Raj? I mean, just been an amazing few days for us, really.
And we go on.
Just like, I don't want to. I've been a season ticket holder for a few years. I know you guys have been going a lot longer, but
we're proper old school, innit? We're like,
yeah. All right, calm down. But for me, it was one of the best home games I've ever been to.
No, I think I'd probably say that.
And I know, and even it compares. It sounds crazy, right? Because I know it's just a derby, but it compares for me like some of the finals and semi-finals I've been to at Wembley, for example, in terms of just the atmosphere before the game, during the game, and after the game. I know more is at stake during some finals, and we've probably had bigger stakes Premier League games, but for me, the atmosphere was like the whole day was insane.
Yeah, I was going to say the atmosphere, like North London derbies. So I guess it's probably worth us saying, right, for fans that, I guess a number of fans that listen to us and just in general probably haven't had the chance to go to a North London derby. And we all know, like, it's our game of the season in terms of the rivalry, and it's the one that we look forward to. And especially as, you know, we go to majority of games, it's the game that we look forward to going to the most because the atmosphere is always rocking. It's Spurs. But this particular derby just seemed to have like another edge, not an edge to it, but it just seemed to be on like a level up compared to previous ones. There was just something on the day. I don't know if it was I don't know. I don't actually know what it was. I don't know if it was the fact that, you know, the new players were starting again and we kind of had a new look team, or the last couple of wins, or it's just, you know, it's been so bad recently. Like, this was the game that everyone was up for. But the atmosphere was just on another level, and like, I know we're going to talk about it, but pre-match was just unbelievable. The whole day was unbelievable.
I think I've had this theory that this season, because we're not in Europe, each home game just feels that little bit more special as well. Because, you know, you were saying if you miss one game, you don't get to go for a month before you can come back again, maybe 5-6 weeks if you throw in an international break. So I feel like, whereas last season, or when we were going regularly, you had Europa League, you miss a game, you know, would be like, okay, cool, I'll see you on Thursday for the next game. And each game feels a little bit more special. And then when you throw in the fact that we haven't had a North London derby with fans for a long time as well, and the fact that, you know, it was a decent kickoff time, loads of people were drinking before the game and after the game and stuff. I think everything, plus what you said, Miles, it's like a new team, new signings. I think all of those things just contributed to a really good atmosphere.
So, because it was like a really nice kind of almost Hollywood storyline, wasn't it? You've got the first few games of the season, it's all, you know, it's we're dead and buried. We're not scoring a goal, literally not scoring a goal, getting hammered by teams that have always hammered us and teams that have never hammered us. And then you get all these signings, and it's this kind of fight, like Phoenix rising from the ashes, almost but not just with regards to the team, with regards to the fans as well. It felt like everyone was down and out, and then everyone kind of pulled together and said, "Come on, let's do this." You got these new signings in, young team, and you beat one team and Norwich, and they're okay, and then you go away to Burnley and it's like, oh yeah, it's okay. It's like the ascension to the big bad guy at the end of the film, which is like Tottenham, and it's like, have they grown enough? Are they good enough? Are we going to be able to do this test? And it really felt like that, right? Because it felt like everyone had grown together. The team, the fans have grown together over these coming weeks, and it was just this explosion of like everything that could go right going right in that 45 minutes. But before we, I guess, get to the game, let's talk, because there's so many other blogs out there, there's so many podcasts out there that will talk about tactics and go into a lot of detail, and we are going to talk about the game, don't get me wrong, but obviously what we try and do as the Arsaholics is, as those of you who listen to us know, we try and bring you the match day experience and what it was like at the game, and some of the things that you might not have been able to see it on TV, and it might not have been picked up by people who weren't at the game. And so just going from the start, it's a 4:30 kickoff, right? So it's a late kickoff. Everyone, it's a Sunday, but it doesn't matter. Everyone, generally speaking, is there really and trying to socialize and trying to have a drink. And we were no different. We got there at what time? About one-ish, I think. I think we had ambition. Miles, I think you said, at the beginning there was ambitions for 11, 12.
Yeah, man. Let's get some lunch. Yeah, it didn't quite work. I think it was earlier than one, to be fair, but yeah, it was around that kind of time.
Yeah, if we started at 11, I don't think we would have made it till would have made the game, to be honest.
But when we got to the race, I think Aaron and you and I had a drink initially somewhere that we've never drunk before. I even forget what it's called. I want to say it's like the Duke of Edinburgh or something like that.
Duke of Kent.
Something. Yeah, I apologise to the pub, but it was just off Holloway Road, a couple of side streets. As you walk up to the stadium. So it wasn't on the main road, but then we went to the Horatia. And to be honest, by the time when Aaron and I got to the Horatia, Mize and Nero were already in there, and it can't have been later than 2-ish,
2:00.
And Aaron and I couldn't get in. It was full, and they weren't letting.
They were all there from 11 o'clock, mate.
But it was buzzing, wasn't it, guys? Like the Horatia was absolutely buzzing.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, it was. The chants were going. Everyone was obviously getting on it, like you said. Good kickoff time, even though it was a Sunday, it really seemed to matter. And it was just a game that everyone was sort of looking forward to. It's when you have a North London derby quite early on in the season. You're already looking forward to that game, despite the other games that you had beforehand. And everyone was just gearing up for it. And the pub was rocking. Really, the pub was rocking, and helped a bit when the Jaeger bombs came out as well. So,
and they did come out, and they continued. And by the time we got to the stadium, and we got there a little bit early because I think we planned to have a drink in the concourse. I mean, it was just vibrant. The chants were just off the chain. And to be honest, like it had been as I said before, it had been escalating through these home games. Every home games felt a little bit better, and there was this great atmosphere. Did you? And then I think around that time, team news started leaking out, didn't it?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's helped the atmosphere at home this season is the club are doing 2-for-1 on beers.
Yeah,
for people who get there over an hour before. So I assume a lot of people have taken up the club on that offer and perhaps had been in the ground considerably earlier. And it was loud and it was pumping. Yeah.
It wasn't just loud, but I mean, we're block 9. Loud is one way to describe it, but it was one of those games where, you were getting the huddles of fans, 100 fans or so, singing songs, jumping around, beers going up in the air. I think we posted a few videos and some stuff on social media, and this was like an hour before the game. So it was pretty mental.
And the flares went off, and then suddenly all the and then it was like the barriers came down. That was before the game.
Yeah, someone let off a flame before the game, set up a smoke alarm. I have seen one hypothesis this season that because of COVID, a lot of the older regulars are not going, and therefore their tickets have been snapped up by younger fans. Because I don't know about you guys, but it definitely seems that there are a lot more people in their kind of early 20s, maybe even late teens at the ground. And that certainly contributes to the noise.
I don't know if we fall into that older fans category because we're still going. Or maybe I do, but
well, it was funny. In all seriousness, like because I was at the I was at the Palace Brighton game the next day, and when I was talking to my mate, when I was talking to Kish, and Kish he dropped that comment, and he goes, suddenly we've got a lot more, all these clubs, including Palace again, a lot more young fans coming through. And he made a comment. He was just like, and you guys, you're kind of transitioning to the older guard. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about?
It's got a point, to be fair, but maybe a few more years.
Yeah, but it feels good, like, because there's a lot of this fan base, a lot of this new fan base. Not you, but sorry, a lot of the younger fan base, they hadn't experienced the Wenger years, right? So they don't have that baggage. I mean that in a good way. Like, and that's no disrespect to the Wenger era, but we came through this era. We came through the Invincibles. We had all of that, and then there was all the turmoil that happened after that, and all the not necessarily being as good as we were before, and all the success that the Emirates was supposed to bring us, but hasn't thus far. They don't have that baggage. And I think there's something to be said for that. But if let's go to the game, guys, because we get into the stands. We've seen the lineup. There was a little bit of a surprise in terms of Xhaka starting. I think people were wondering he'd come back into the team. You did call it. Well done.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
I think that. All right, let's put it this way. I think the general sentiment of the fans overall was whether they thought it would happen or not, didn't quite want it to happen.
Yeah.
But it happened. And, let's just, as a summary of the first half, before we go into some of the details, I mean, faultless team selection, faultless tactics, faultless in every department. Does that summarize the first half?
I don't know if Aaron's frozen or not. Are you there?
I'm still here.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, mate. We can. Yeah, I mean, that probably is a good summary, Raj. I mean, faultless is probably the right word. There isn't very much you could say. I can't think of anything that really went wrong. I know Spurs did have a couple of chances from memory. I don't really remember much, to be honest, because it was pretty hammered. But I think Spurs had a couple of chances. But yeah, we were just unbelievable, really. And it reminded me, like, thinking about it after the game. So thinking about, obviously it's Tuesday today, so last couple of days, just sort of reflecting on the game. It reminded me of, there's been a couple of games in the past, like in the recent past, where we blitzed teams in the first half. I think it was United we did.
And Liverpool.
And Chelsea. Didn't we do that Chelsea under Conte? And then when they won the league. So like, it reminded me of that kind of performance where they just came out well up for it, which is not something you can necessarily say about some of the, a lot of the times, a lot of the games and how we start them. And I mean, look, everyone was on it from front to back. Everyone had a really, really good first half, and obviously there were some standout players. And like you said, we're going to get into the detail, but yeah, faultless is probably the right word. John.
And I think what was interesting is from where we sit, it's very hard to get a real understanding of space and some of the positional kind of nuances of what's actually happening on the pitch. So it looked to us like it was just a case of, Arsenal, I think, starting at 100% with everyone focused, everyone understanding exactly what their roles were, and everyone executing it. Interestingly, when you look at the analysis that's happened of the game, Monday Night Football did a really good piece on this. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jamie Carragher was talking about Tottenham's tactics. And it's amazing because it looked like from what his analysis suggested, it looked like the way Tottenham played was intentional. They intentionally made a lot of those decisions around like not putting players in midfield. I mean, to us, when you're watching it, it just looked like it was one team that wanted to play football and the other that didn't want to be there. You know, let's be honest. I mean, it looked like from the facial expressions, everything. I mean, Aaron, and what did you think? Because when you looked at the Tottenham lineup, it really was a case of a lot of attacking talent on that pitch, right? Kane, Son, Moura, Ali. I didn't know how they were going to all fit together, but it looked like, well, this is a team that's going to go for it. But I mean, what do you think?
My theory here is that they saw what Brentford tried, which was getting balls to Tony and Tony winning all these headers against Ben White. And they kind of expected that to happen again. And they tried to knock all these long balls to Kane. But instead, this time, Ben White was just winning them all. And Dele Alli and Ndombele just nowhere near the required level. I thought Son was good. And Son was about the best player for them. Apart from that, everyone else was considerably worse.
And why, Miles, how much of it is down to the manager and his tactics? But how much did you feel that Tottenham players just weren't up for
it? You got that impression from like the amount of effort we showed versus the amount of effort they seemed to show. And I don't know, it's hard. I'd be surprised if these guys came out and just weren't up for a North London derby. And most of these Spurs players have played in one before. You're looking at people like Kane and Ali and stuff and Son. So I don't know if it's that they weren't up for it. Maybe we were just that good in the first half and we just like absolutely blitzed them and maybe took them by surprise a little bit. You know, it's not like we've been pulling up the trees in recent weeks. We've not been smashing in the goals apart from in the League Cup. So maybe it was a case of that. They were just almost a bit shell shocked and their tactics did seem a bit weird. Like, yeah, I did see that Monday Night Football piece and to have three midfielders and none of them pretty much to be in like occupying any space in central midfield does seem a bit strange. And there was a tweet, I don't know if you guys saw this, I don't think I've retweeted actually, I was meant to send it to you guys. There's a tweet where someone's basically taken 4 separate stills of 4 of Nuno's previous games for 4 different clubs. So the 4 clubs that he's managed previously, they've taken stills of like an aerial view of the pitch or like the TV camera view of the pitch. And it's for his 4 previous clubs. So like Spurs on Sunday, this game, and then Wolves, and then whoever he managed before that in Portugal, I guess. And all 4 of those stills, they're exactly the same, where there's no central midfielders. So you've got your defense, you've got your forwards, and they're just a massive like chasm of space in between. And that was doing the rounds. So that was quite funny, really. But I don't know if that's like a common tactic of his or like a common kind of failing of his. But yeah, man, I think we were just unbelievable that first time. I think you just got to give Arsenal credit. I think when it's due, you just got to give Arsenal credit. And
you have to give them credit, I think, because of the fact that it was a plan that Tottenham had. Clearly, they set up a certain way, and that, you know, as we've said, we talked about Ben White's dominance over Harry Kane. Ultimately, we have to execute our plan better than them, and we did that. I mean, let's talk about, because it was again a bit of an ascension. You know, we started at the beginning. It was okay, and then it got better, and it got better, and then it kind of just then exploded with that first goal, didn't it? So, like, what did you make of it? Because that you know, our first couple of goals, there was some. Emile Smith Rowe was the heartbeat really of those goals, but actually there was a lot of players involved, and it did look like in both those instances it looked like a very sort of choreographed set of movements.
Yeah, I just felt that the first 2 goals were a result of us having players everywhere in the pitch that could pass the ball well, and technical players who, even if there's a bit of pressure, can move the ball quickly and find their man, and that was it. It felt like, you know, there was a stat that said that this was basically the Arteta's 5 new signings plus the other players he had given new contracts to, and it very much seemed like this was what he's been building towards, which is players who are comfortable under pressure, players who are comfortable in their positions, players who can move around and reposition themselves where needed. And this was the plan coming together.
Yeah, I think to clarify that stat, I think what it was the 11 that finished the pitch 6 were hurt. There were 6 new signings and 5 that were given new contracts by Arteta, and only 2 players were over the age of 23. And there's an interesting other kind of piece of analysis where it talks about how Arsenal played, especially in that first half, which was a lot of the passes had a lot of intention. Right. So if we just remember back to that first goal, right? Although it started sort of down the left-hand side, but worked its way through, and then we end up on the right with Bukayo Saka. And the place that Emile Smith-Rowe finds himself in for that goal, I mean, it's just it was what Aaron Ramsey was doing. It was, when you want that box-to-box player, I think what Arteta sort of challenged him to do is be in those positions, arrive late. It was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, you can't talk about the goals and you can't talk about the first half without talking about Smith-Rowe and Saka. And you almost start struggling to sort of put it into words when you consider the kind of age of these players, inexperience. I know they are experienced because they've been playing first team football, especially Saka, for a couple of years, and Smith-Rowe since last season. But despite that, these are the go-to guys now for us. It's pretty mental when you think about it. And then you add Erdegaard into the mix. He's not exactly an old timer as well. And I mean, look, on that first goal, pretty much what you said, Raj. I mean, I didn't actually think of the Ramsey comparison until you just mentioned it, but yeah, it was very, very much like Aaron Ramsey in terms of arriving late into the box, or timed perfectly the run into the box. And I guess when you've got a player like Saka, who he can deliver a final ball, and a little bit of magic from him on the right hand side, maybe not even a little bit of magic, it was a pretty basic step over and then shift the ball. And it's almost like he had a bit of a connection with Smith-Rowe, knew where he was going to be. And yeah, like you said, he just meets it nicely, and it's a pretty easy finish because he's timed the run perfectly. And I guess Spurs defensively pretty bad for that goal. Like, no one's tracking Smith-Rowe. Like, he's the one who picks up the ball, and I think he plays it out to Saka, I believe, and then makes the run in. I could be wrong on that. So yeah, pretty poor defensively, from Spurs. But yeah, I mean, it's just a fantastic first goal. I was going to ask you, Raj, as well, because you mentioned when you started talking about the goals in the first half, or the goals specifically, you said you mentioned that you thought some of the moves were sort of choreographed, I think is the word you used. Do you think that was the case, like with any of the goals, with the first goal?
Yeah, I think with the first goal, when I say choreograph and passes with intention, what I got the impression is that what all the really good teams do is they know to pass into spaces, and someone else knows to run into those spaces, right? It's like, it's not by chance. Like, Saka's not putting that ball in, and just hoping for the best necessarily, right? He's putting that ball in, and he's going, I'm going to trust someone to make the run, because otherwise the ball just goes nowhere, because it's not really to anyone, right? And that, I think, Wenger in the Wenger era, that used to happen quite a lot. And when you do it effectively, you can't really defend against it, because the defenders don't really know where. It's not like it's going to a person, so they're not like covering someone necessarily. And so there's that. But then when we look at that second goal, it's similar, Miles, because the second goal, if you look at Oba's pass and his movement immediately afterwards, he completely knows what he's going to try and do and what Smith-Rowe is going to try and do here. There's so much intention in those passes, in that build-up play. In a way, actually, that second goal, going into that second goal, it feels like we got a bit lucky, right? Because Ramsdale the pass was a little bit short. But at the same time, sometimes that's what you need, right? Because when the pass is a bit short and then suddenly the opposition think that they're going to make it, they get dragged out of position. Suddenly some space is open, and that's kind of what happened. But the pace of that counter, I mean, it was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the second goal, like you said, the Ramsdale, I didn't notice that on the at the game. I only saw it in the highlights yesterday and was watching them back. But yeah, that pass out, you can't really have a go at him because he's been so good since he's come into the team, and he had another good game on Sunday. But was it Xhaka he passed it out to? Because Xhaka did really well.
Yes,
shielded the ball and obviously released it. And yeah, from there it was like again, it was kind of like vintage Arsenal. What we what we associate Arsenal to be in terms of not necessarily counter-attacking, because I don't think Arsenal have ever really been a counter-attacking team, but 1 and 2 touch passing, the ball going from back to front pretty quickly. And like every pass was on point. Aubameyang's layoff was like perfect back to goal. Sanchez behind him, and he just flicked it around the corner, and Smith Rowe had acres of space to run into. And yeah, like you said, Aubameyang didn't stop there, did he? He made as soon as he released the ball, he made the run. And it's like all of the players had that mentality where it was like, the mentality of, let's go direct, let's get players into the box, towards the box. Let's take the game to Spurs. Let's not wait for a moment to just happen. We're going to make the moment happen, and that's exactly what they did. It was such a nice second goal. I thought Aubameyang was a little bit lucky with the finish. Like he kind of scuffed it. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but yeah, I felt like he was a little bit lucky, but he obviously scuffed it in the right direction where it went into the corner. But yeah, it was just another really, really good goal. And just again, like you said, Smith Rowe at the heart of it, and just he was him and Erdegaard just making us tick Sunday. Sorry, so yeah, just really nice to see. Sorry, mate.
I thought Xhaka did really well, like you said, Miles. And I was one of those who didn't want him to start, but I think he played a role in that first goal as well, and in all the moves generally. First half he was really good, and fair play, because on another day it could have backfired, and that was a really bad ball that Ramsdale played into him. I think he really put him under a lot of pressure, and it could have led to a Spurs goal. But actually, thanks to Xhaka, I mean, you could argue that he fouled the man that when he turned, but he turned it into a really good attacking move, and it allowed him to score. So, credit where it's due.
He was excellent, like everyone was. And we spoke about Xhaka, we spoke about Smith Rowe's role in the first goal, the second goal. Something that he did in the third goal, which I think really typifies the style that we seem to be trying to move to, and what we were doing that first half, is getting the ball forward fast, really fast. It reminds me of Liverpool in that way. I feel Klopp really wants to get the ball forward fast, and Smith Rowe's pass to Xhaka was brilliant for that third goal. He really it was perfect. It was kind of just threaded down quickly forward at pace, and Xhaka was there, and it goes back to the kind of passes with intent thing, and people making very, very fast runs to get there, and Saka's persistence on that. I mean, we need to applaud Harry Kane's role in that goal, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he started the move. He was like, I'm going to get back to the other end. Brilliant.
I mean, look, to be fair, he was unlucky at both ends of the pitch, wasn't he? Like, I'm not complaining about it, but he was pretty unlucky, and he did what he needed to do to get back. As in, he makes the tackle, and it's just a ricochet.
Fine, right. But okay. So I said this to someone else, right? If Granit Xhaka had done what Harry Kane had done for that third goal, and he'd given the ball away at the top of the pitch, legged it back, faked to tackle.
I thought he just fell over the ball, though, didn't he? I don't think he gave it away as such, and he just tripped over the ball.
Did it? Okay, well, fine. He lost the ball high up the pitch, led to a counter attack, got back, but fluffed the tackle, and it ended up inadvertently assisting Harry Kane for a goal, for example. Arsenal and Sky Sports would be absolutely Kane.
I think they would.
Xhaka.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't know. The first action, it seems like I think he just trips over the ball, or he steps on the ball and he falls over. So I think it's just like probably happens 1 in 1,000 times. And then obviously, he gets back and fine. It ends up like not helping the team. Well, it's probably the right way of putting it, but I think he makes the tackle. Like he slides in, he makes the tackle.
Yeah,
the ball then ricochets back off him or back off Saka, and it just lands into Saka's path on his left foot, and he just puts it.
Yeah, I guess the point. But I don't think it's bad defending as such. I don't think he's made a big mistake there, Kane. But it's just one of those where I feel like some players get an easier ride than others. Whereas, like, if Mustafi had done that, if Xhaka had done that, they would have been ridiculed for that for the rest of their careers. Whereas I think because it's Kane, you think, oh well, he's done well to get back, and he hasn't done it.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I won't speak on behalf of the media. I agree with you about that point you just made, but I mean, I'm not looking at this as I don't like Harry Kane. I don't like any Tottenham players, so I'm not looking at this as Harry Kane gets a bye from me. But I just genuinely feel he was quite unlucky. I don't think he did anything wrong when he lost the ball. I think he just trips over the ball and then he tries to get back and he gets unlucky again. But yeah.
And it probably what made it funny and what made it easier to focus on was actually like he wasn't having a good first half, right? He wasn't involved in the game in the way that we expect Harry Kane to be. The thing is, what I found quite funny, but when we did the preview for this game, we were very respectfully cautious. We talked about the danger that Harry Kane brings, his scoring record in North London derbies. This being said, he hasn't scored a goal from open play at the Emirates since 2015.
So he's just had penalties.
When he scored at the Emirates, it's been penalties. I don't know if there's been a free kick in there, but look, I'm not going to go as far as to say is that he's anonymous in these games. It's not what I'm saying, but in big games like this, when you're away from home, you need some special moments, and it felt like as a combination of all of what's been happening to Tottenham recently. Style of play, and I think Harry Kane with the whole Man City situation, he probably wasn't in the right frame of mind, perhaps, to have the game that he needed to give to impact a team which was really motivated. And I think it's only fair we do talk about our back five, right? Because and their ability to impose themselves and create the situation, because it was a blitzing attacking performance, but we said before this game that this represented the toughest challenge for this new look back five that they've had quite considerably. And let's look at that lineup, right? You've got this new look back five again. You're up against Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, who in my opinion is actually their best player. Son, Kane, Lucas Moura, who's a good footballer. Who's a good footballer and scored in important moments for Spurs, including Champions League semi-finals, etc. Dele Alli, who, okay, I know, fine, he used to be good, but like on paper, and Ndombele, their record signing or whatever, who is meant to be very good in both ends of the pitch. And this is our new look back five. And I mean, Aaron, and what did you think? How did you think they did?
I mean, I think you're being a bit generous to some of those last two players, if I'm being honest. I think Tottenham, in my opinion, are two world-class players, and then 9 very, very average ones.
You'd say Lucas Moura is average player.
I think he's better than average, personally.
I don't know. Not consistently. You get games where he's pretty good. But look, let's be clear. Those front two are as good as any pairing in world football on their day. They are, you don't get two better attacking. You don't get a better attacking partnership than that pretty much anywhere else, right? Maybe you got Messi and Neymar or something like that, and Mbappe, but in the Premier League, that is about as hard as they come. And you can talk about Kane not being on form and whatnot, but there's still one mistake and they can punish you. And to be fair, they did for that goal that they did score. But we made it look very comfortable for large parts. And actually that 3-1 scoreline, I think, kind of flatters them a bit. Yeah. Because we were comfortable pretty much all the game. They did have some chances in the second half, and towards the last 20 minutes they seemed to get back in the game, but we managed the game. We were managing the game at that point. And no, we were really comfortable. I thought every member of that back four and the goalkeeper did their bit. I thought Tomiyasu was outstanding. I thought Gabriel and Ben White were really good. I thought Tierney, no, they were all just really good. I don't know what else to say, but everyone was really good.
They were, and one of the reasons Ben White was signed was for his distribution, and I know that he's had not his distribution, sorry, but his passing ability and ability to pick out a pass. And I know he's not had the easiest start as an Arsenal player, but we saw it. We've seen it in every game that he's played it, but we saw it again. Like, he's looking like a really, really classy player on the ball, and not only that, he quite surprisingly dominated. Like, I think someone said it earlier, he quite surprisingly dominated Harry Kane. Like, there was
Jamie Carragher said he bullied him.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Yeah, winning things aerially, and Harry Kane's very, very good in the air. He's a very physical player. So really, really impressed with him. And I think like we also should probably say like when we were sort of previewing the season, I think we were linked. I'm thinking back to one of our preview episodes. We were linked with Ramsdale on that day, and we weren't sure if we were going to sign him or not. I think that was the day that the talks then broke down, and then obviously started again. And we've obviously signed him since then. And you know, Ramsdale for 20, 25 million, whatever he was. Ben White for 50 odd million. No one had heard of Tomiyasu before. I mean, look, it's only sort of 6 games into the league season, but you've got to give the club a lot of credit. If you know, if they can keep this up, I'm not saying we're going to go and win every game and smash every team 3-0 in the first half, but you know, it looks like we potentially have a back 4 and a goalkeeper for years to come. And you know, a couple of them are English as well, which is always nice. Perfect age profile for the future, for the next few years. And you know, you don't really like when we were signing these players and when we lost to City 5-0, everyone was coming out and saying, you know, Ben White shit and whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we were getting so much criticism, and you know, Ramsdale's come in, he's just grabbed the number 1 shirt off Leno, and there's absolutely no doubt now who our number 1 is, and Leno should not be playing Premier League game. Well, I'm being a bit harsh, but not that Leno did anything wrong, but you guys know what I mean, right? Ramsdale's just been very,
absolutely
very good, and he just brings that assurance to the defense. So, yeah, like I just think it's worth just, you know, giving a shout out to Edu really, and whoever else is, you know, Arteta and whoever else is, you know, picking these players out, you know, the scouting department, because like really good work, man. Like we have to be happy as Arsenal fans that these guys are turning up now, and yeah, hopefully it continues. Hopefully it's not like a short-term thing and only time will tell. But as a fan, you know, really happy and really excited with it.
You have to give Arteta and Edu a shout out, partly because there's so much voice on social media, which is the other way, who's been completely critical, completely anti, and we on this podcast, we have an agenda as fans. We have an agenda as supporters of Arsenal Football Club. That's the only agenda we have, right? So we ourselves, we wondered about Ramsdale. Yeah. As soon as we always said we would absolutely get 100% behind it, but we wondered. But you're right, Miles. Like Tomiyasu, no one's heard. I mean, let's talk about him for a second. No one had heard of him really. Let's be honest. Like 99% of Arsenal fans had only heard of him because Spurs were linked with him at the beginning of the window. We signed him. Spurs went for Emerson Royal instead. I can't remember a player settling in so fast to the Premier League. And contrast that, it's going to sound like this is a bit Tottenham bashing, as a very, very kind of proud. We are an Arsenal podcast, so we can do that. And we've just, you know, we've had a big game, which we want. So we can do that. Emerson Royal, who they signed instead, was not deemed good enough to start this game because of, you know, how poorly he's settled in thus far. Tomiyasu, on the other hand, was against Son, one of the best players in the world, in his 3rd game in the Premier League. And he was comfortable. He was comfortable. And he said, I mean, speech. Not much more to say, I guess. Yeah, but I thought Aaron was going to.
Sorry. No, I was going to agree, but then it's like, yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think what I really like about Tomiyasu is, you know, in this era where fans are all crying out for, let's go and find another Trent Alexander-Arnold to go alongside our like Kieran Tierney type in attacking football.
Which some of us wanted. I wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it's quite a common perception, right? Because everyone sees what Liverpool have done, everyone sees what we've done with Tierney, and they think, right, let's get the right-sided version of that. But what we've gone and signed is like this dude is going to be like, he's very happy to be like, right, you guys go ahead and do the attacking bit, but when they come up the other end, I'm just going to deal with this. And anything that comes down this side, I've got. And when Kieran Tierney goes up, when Saka goes up, when Smith Rowe goes up, when Aubameyang goes up, Tomiyasu is just there, either in right back or drifting across because he can play in the middle because he's played for a long time as a centre back. And he's like, I'm just going to chill here and I'm just going to defend. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I know there were moments when he did drift forward now and then, but he's just so old school in that sense. And yeah, I love it. I love it. It's just, you know, the attacking players are great, but sometimes you can just watch a defensive performance and just think, yeah, that's good. And I think so far he's put in a few of those shifts.
and he's just going to give that defensive stability will give others confidence, to do their things with more conviction. Do you feel that Saka is going to really benefit from having a player like Tomiyasu at right back, Miles?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it from a lot of the kind of attacking like phases and the attacking play. Like Aaron said, Tomiyasu is more than happy to kind of sit as that, not really a third centre back, but he sits, lets Tierney bomb forward. Obviously, Saka's going to bomb forward. So yeah, potentially, if Saka keeps playing on the right, and this is where the Pepe kind of conundrum comes in, because I'm pretty confident he is going to be starting games as well. But yeah, if you're saying that Saka's starting on the right, then I think it does give him full license to do what he does, and it's almost like he doesn't have to worry too much about. Well, not that he doesn't have to worry, but he can probably go forward and not have to worry too much about his defensive duties. So yeah, hopefully it helps him.
Yeah, and I think with the question about Pepe, there's something interesting which I'd kind of like to discuss after we finish talking about this game, which is about how Granit Xhaka's injury may actually be doing Pepe a bit of a favour in terms of him getting minutes indirectly. But let's just cover off the rest of the game, guys, because actually there wasn't too much more by way of highlights per se. I think there were two penalty shouts at either end at some point. Harry Kane had a penalty shout. Gabriel had a penalty shout. I don't think we need to spend too much time talking about it. They were both not given. Whatever.
They should have had a penalty, though. Spurs. That was a penalty.
I didn't see that. Was that? Did you think it should have been a penalty?
I can't believe they didn't. Yeah, I'm very surprised. I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah, one of those. Wait. Yeah, exactly. No, I was just saying, in the ground, completely passed me by that.
Yeah,
didn't even realize it was an incident. Yeah.
Well, my friend messaged me after the game and he said, listen, without your he's a Tottenham fan. He said, without your Tottenham bias, without Arsenal bias, do you think it's a penalty? Mate, I genuinely, during the game, I genuinely didn't even know there was a penalty shout.
Yeah.
Genuinely didn't
realize at all. It's a bit weird with VAR, to be honest. It's quite surprising that we got a decision like that for us. So yeah, I mean, not going to complain, but I think the Gabriel one, I don't think that was a penalty. It would have been quite a soft one if that was given. But yeah, I think they should have had a penalty for sure.
Okay, well, luckily they didn't. And then another incident before Tottenham scored, I believe it was before Tottenham scored, was the Xhaka injury. Now, this is pretty unfortunate, to be honest, because whatever way you look at it, whether you want Xhaka in the starting 11 or not, we need central midfielders this season. And Partey and El Neni, as we've spoken about before, will go to African nations. It looks like Granit Xhaka's out for 2 months, which is disappointing because he kind of picked up today from where he had at the back end of he picked up on Sunday where he did from back end of last season, and he looked really, really good. I mean, guys, do you think that we will see Lokonga, because obviously Lokonga came on and he had minutes? Will Lokonga go straight and take that spot, or can you see a move back to 4-3-3 now? I say move back. We've only had one game as 4-3-3.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend on the opposition, to be honest. Clearly, I think you guys, Raj, possibly, I'm not sure who, but said about the 4-3-3 being kind of a preferred long-term strategy or formation for Arteta. And I guess it's almost like, with Xhaka being injured for so long, it kind of forces his hand a little bit. Potentially, it might just make him think, oh, you know what, I'm limited in central midfield now. I may as well go for it. But then we've got Brighton next. They're kind of flying. They're doing pretty well. So I can see Lokonga coming in because, again, Lokonga's been another player who's just come straight in and just done a really good job. And I can't remember him putting a foot wrong really in any game that he's played. So I think it's just a case of depending on the opposition, and he's got options in terms of switching up the system. The thing that concerns me, despite everything we say about Xhaka, is we're quite light in that central midfield area. It's an obvious thing to say, right? So if Partey gets injured, I don't know how long, since Partey joined us last season, what's the longest run of games he's had? I don't know, 10 games maybe. I'm completely guessing, but that's a bit of a worry because you can predict it happening in the next few weeks. Partey potentially getting injured, and then we are effed basically if that happens in the next couple of months. So Yeah, going to be interesting what he does. But yeah, I think he can probably, he's got option. I think the fact that you haven't got many central midfield options might just make him think, I can go with the 4-3-3, and yeah, you said it, Raj. Maybe that brings Pepe back in, or another attacking player like Martinelli. But he can fully rely on Lokonga as well, which is really good. It's not like he's got too many worries about bringing Lokonga in. So
yeah, I think the one thing I'd be concerned about with Lokonga is just, I wonder if that tips the age profile of the team to maybe becoming a bit too inexperienced or a bit too young. The thing I liked about Sunday was you had all these young players, and then in the middle you had Partey and Xhaka, and then Aubameyang up front, who are like this core of experienced players. And say what you want about Xhaka and his inconsistency and how he can be very, very frustrating at times. For the 75% of the time that he's not frustrating, he does act as that kind of general in the team, the experienced head, to just try and keep it all going. And losing Xhaka for 2 months, there's no way anyone can find a positive in that. I don't think. Yeah, you can say it. Yeah, you can say like, okay, it's good because this person will get more minutes, and that's fine in terms of the starting 11. But in terms of the best central midfielders at Arsenal, Granit Xhaka is still up there purely because of the fact that we don't have that many central midfielders that are like at all.
Yeah, completely agree. I think a point you mentioned there is spot on. I don't think that there's any way you can find a positive out of him being out for 2 months. Whatever way you look at it, I don't think you can. And look, we'll preview Brighton in a second, because I think we need to move. Let's finish talking about the game very, very finally. We don't need to talk about the consolation goal so much. It was a goal from Son. Ramsdale got his hand to it. He said after the game that how disappointed he was not to get a clean sheet, and he mentioned about how he felt that if his weight was a bit more forward, then maybe he would have been able to deflect the ball away, as opposed to it kind of almost go through his hand. Let's talk about the save he did make. Right, he made an absolute worldie at the death to stop it being 3-2 and potentially getting very, very uncomfortable. Oh geez, I mean, did you appreciate how good that save was at the time?
No,
I didn't know. I still, when you watch it back, it's still like so weird to watch. Like, I don't know how, like the way he's obviously he's falling back, or, diving back, falling back. And he's obviously, you think he's going to go with one hand, but then he sort of twists his body and goes with the other. Sorry, there's a fly flying right in front of me. Yeah. And
you should have gone with the other hand, mate.
Yeah. I mean, just a ridiculous save. I don't even think it's been talked about enough, I'm kind of baffled as to how he even made that save. And yeah, like you said, Raj, crucial save at a crucial point of the game. And yeah, thankfully he made it. It's just been so impressive, hasn't
he? He has. We should just, let's conclude and talk about him. I mean, it's not just his shot stopping, because that's been good, but Leno was a good shot stopper. They're good shot stoppers. There's an assertiveness, there's a passion, there's something that, let's recall one thing he did that was really interesting. Do you remember when it was in the first half and the ball just went out? And it's funny because I've exchanged tweets with this ball boy, because because basically it was quite funny. It was quite funny because, do you remember there was that instant where the ball boy had the ball and Ramsdale was screaming at him, and basically just slow down. And I found that so interesting. And Ramsdale was like, he was determined. He was just like, it wasn't like, he was like really, really passionate. And we are dominating the game at this point. But Ramsdale is fully focused. And the ball boy it was great. From that moment on, the ball boy was fantastic. And someone called him out on Twitter, and then he responded saying, "Yeah, that was me." So I made sure that he knew that the North Bank appreciated what he did. But yeah, like Ramsdale, I think that typifies Ramsdale's character for me.
Yeah. I made the observation that if, let's say, for example, you only watched Arsenal on Match of the Day this season, or even like you only watch Arsenal on Sky TV or online, and you saw certain bits of the game, and you compared Ramsdale with Leno, I don't think you would be able to say there's been a big improvement, because all you see is this dude in goal. He makes a few good saves, and yeah, you can say he's a bit more assertive in crosses. But where you do notice it is when you're at the game, and we're really lucky because we sit behind the goal, so we get almost front row seats of watching him for at least 45 minutes, and the difference in what sort of presence that he has is it's night and day. And I really like Leno. I don't want to say that Leno's rubbish or anything like that, but and when Leno was in goal, I didn't think we needed to improve in that area. So I'm not going to say that I've been saying this for all along, but it's very, very obvious how much better Ramsdale is from a presence point of view. And I don't know if that comes across on TV. I don't know if that comes across certainly on that Match of the Day, for example. But when you see him there, you see how vocal he is. You see how he's talking to the defenders. There was this one moment when I think Leno saved a shot from, might have been Son. Sorry, when Ramsdale saved a shot from Kane, and then Tomiyasu then got to the second ball and put it out from a corner, and they both went absolutely mental, like cheering it, and they came up to each other and like chest bumped each other, and then carried on to defend the corner. Like that, if that happens with Leno in goal, I don't think that interaction between Tomiyasu and Leno wouldn't happen. Having that presence, having that character in goal, which you can't really show in stats comparisons, for example.
Yeah, agreed. It feels like he's the keeper we need at the moment. Yeah, for this journey, for this kind of growth, it is. And right, I mean, let's look forward. Okay, we have turned it around somewhat this season. Okay, somewhat we have turned it around. Okay, we're winning 3 games in a row. Any team at any stage of the season is good, and we've done that. And we are now going into a period where, if we look back, we've played Spurs, we've played Man City, we've played Chelsea. So there's three games which are pretty tough opponents, and we are where we are. Now, if we look forward, the next 6 games are certainly winnable games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're certainly winnable games. I know fine, we've got Leicester in that pack away, I think. And I think, we're at home to Villa, and Villa have beaten Man United. But if you look at the performance against Tottenham, and if we play to 90% of that, do you think that we're capable of winning all those 6 games, Mice?
I was hoping you're going to read out the fixtures, mate. I think I've got an idea who we're playing. I know it's Brighton, Villa, Palace, Watford in there.
Yeah, Leicester away, and
Brighton away, Palace at home, Villa at home, then Leeds at home in the cup, then Leicester away, then Watford at home before an international break.
Right. I mean, look, mate, at the end of the day, we are clearly capable of winning any game of football. Like, I think even if we come up against some of the best sides on our day, we could, we can't beat them. So this is not really a case of can we go on a run? Can we win all of those games? It's more a case of I'm kind of looking at Arteta to tell this squad, like, to get it in their heads, just take it game by game. Like, don't worry about the game in 2 weeks' time. Just take it game by game and get them ready for that game that we have coming up next. So obviously Brighton in this case, like you said, if he can get the output, if you can get 80-90% of the same kind of output and energy that we gave against Spurs, which is quite difficult, in the sense that you North London derby, you're geared up for it, and the crowd just helped massively on Sunday. So it's going to be a different type of challenge. But I'm hoping that Arteta, this is where I'm kind of looking at Arteta to see how he does with regards to getting the players up for a different occasion, a different type of game, and just doing it on a game by game basis. Because like I said, we're clearly capable of beating all of those teams you just mentioned. Like, there's absolutely no doubt about it. We're probably better than all of them bar Leicester if you're looking at the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I don't see any. Well, there's loads of reasons why that's not going to happen. Why we're not going to win all of them. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, look, I'm not expecting we're going to get 18 points, no, but things definitely look a lot more positive, obviously, and if we can keep certain players fit, like the last thing that we need now is like one of the back four to get injured, because it just disrupts everything. Like we had a fully fit squad to choose from against Spurs, and that lasted that amazing kind of whatever you want to call it, lasted one game, right? With Xhaka now out. So I just hope that's not the start of like a bit of a spree of injuries. And if we can keep like a lot of these players fit, Saka, Smith Rowe, how key they are to us, Erdegaard, yeah, why not, man? Why not? Like, just take it game by game, and let's just see. Let's not worry about trying to amass, trying to set a target of 15 points from 18 or whatever it is. Let's just go to Brighton, win that game hopefully, and then go to the next one. There's no Europe, like I keep saying, no Europe to worry about. So you can just focus on the league games. That's all you've got to worry about.
And Aaron, sorry to cut you off, Miles. No, Aaron, and you said this in the last podcast, and you said this a number of times. It's not to do well in this league. You don't necessarily have to beat those big teams. It's not the big teams that you need to make sure you're beating, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's these games now are very winnable. And the key advantage of not having European football is not just the fact that we have more time to prepare, but we could and probably should play the same 11 players pretty much every Premier League game now. Same back five. Partey in midfield, Aubameyang up front, Smith Rowe, Saka, and yes, with the Xhaka injury, you probably have to, rotate. But you rotate and you find that replacement, and then you stick with that replacement for the next 5 or 6 league games. So that's what I think. Like you said, Miles, the injuries are going to be key. If we can keep, especially that back four, stable, that gives us such a big advantage when other teams are going to have to rotate because they can't play that same 11 players week in, week out. So our kind of rivals for 5th or 4th or 6th or whatever you think we should be doing, you're talking teams like Leicester, like Man United, like Spurs, like West Ham, and all the teams around them. They're not going to be able to play the same 11 week in, week out for every Premier League game because they're going to have to be going away in Europe on Thursdays. And we know how difficult and disruptive that can be in terms of your ability to play a consistent 11. So, yeah, I think if we keep these players fit, we have every chance of going on a run. So I just hope we don't get any more bad luck.
Yeah, and the beginning of that run is Brighton on Saturday. Let's talk about that a little bit. I did our scouting report. I went to Palace yesterday. Very much, I was very much a Palace fan yesterday, and I could say a lot about the game itself, but I don't think we necessarily have time for that. But what I will say was, it really felt like Palace really dominated Brighton, and I was really not impressed with Brighton. I really wasn't. I said to my mate Kish, who I went with, I said to him before the game when we were talking about it and knowing where Brighton were in the league and Brighton doing pretty well, right? If they had won yesterday, I think they would have gone top. And I said to him, like, are Brighton a good team? And he was like, no, they're not a good team. and I thought, like, that's the rivalry coming out, like, whatever. But they were really, really, really average.
Were they missing Basuma yesterday?
They were missing Basuma. And I was just going to say that was a huge loss because
he's the best midfielder in the Premier League, apparently, isn't he? That's what he said.
Yeah, according to him.
According to him, he is. And to be honest, like, the midfield was completely bypassed. Conor Gallagher and James McArthur completely dominated that midfield yesterday. So I think Basuma, if he is still out for the Arsenal game, because Graham Potter said that they are hopeful that he will be fit. I think usually when managers say that, it usually probably means that they are going to be fit. If he doesn't play, I think that's a massive, massive loss. And I think, if he does play, because he played last season when they came to the Emirates, right? Like, and it was a pretty comfortable 2-0 victory. They had Ben White in their team as well. What do you guys think? I mean, we'll get to specific predictions, but do you think Brighton is a game that would you take a draw?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I would. Yeah.
Ultimately, we are Arsenal, and we are we have considerably more expensive, better paid players than they do. And as well as they are doing, and I don't know, I'm not sure I agree with Kesh that say Brighton are not a good team. They've always been a team, in my opinion, that statistically have been quite good, but just never really been able to put away their chances. And now they at least seem to be getting a little bit better at putting away their chances. And I think Graham Potter's a really good manager. So he's clearly improved them. But, you know, I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the top 6 come the end of the season. So we should be, if we have real ambitions of finishing that top 6, if not higher, we should be going there to try and win.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, I mean, they still aren't scoring that many goals. They've scored 8 goals, which is, you know, not, I think it's sort of joint worse than that top 10. But even without the loss of Ben White, they still seem to be defending okay. I think they've only conceded 5 goals. We did that in one game. And so, I mean, they haven't seemingly missed Ben White that much. But, you know, if Arsenal, again, this goes back to this, you know, let's assume they don't turn up at 100% like they did against Spurs, because it's not the North London derby. But, you know, if they're even close to that, surely it's too much for Brighton.
Yeah, you would like to think so. I mean, look, mate, I'll be completely honest. I have not even thought about the Brighton game. I've just been on a nice hangover from Sunday, genuinely, and that's watching the goals over and over again. So I haven't really thought too much about the Brighton game. But yeah, look, yeah, if we approach the game in the same way that we did against Spurs, and we come out kind of firing and up for it, and I use that term quite a lot because a lot of the time we don't start games like we're up for the game, then I fully expect us to win. And I think what Aaron said is very, very valid, and I agree with that. That if you look at the sort of both the squads and you look at some of the players that we've got, and the fact that we've pretty much got a fully fit squad as well, and there's no games midweek, and all of those factors, I think they're big factors. And yeah, I think we should be going there and definitely looking for 3 points. Yeah.
How will he set up, guys? Do you think with the Xhaka injury, whether or not that will impact it, how do you think he'll set up? Will he go for this formation that he played against Spurs, or will he go for the formation that he played away at Burnley, which is the 4-3-3? What do you think, Aaron?
I think it'll be that away at Burnley. I think Ødegaard will drop a bit deeper. Smith Rowe will maybe move a bit more centrally, and then maybe we play Pepe on the left, potentially, because I think Xhaka looks really good on the right, and I think I'd be a bit reluctant to move him away from the right-hand side, so it might just mean actually, instead of settling for Xhaka on the left, we actually settle for Pepe on the left.
What do you think, Miles?
I would not be surprised if Lokonga comes in, like I was saying before. I think he's a player that Arteta is able to trust based on kind of what he's done so far for us. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's still an away game. If Basuma is back, he's a pretty big midfield presence. I don't know if you want to go kind of 1v1 party v Basuma. So I could see Lokonga coming back in, and then you don't really have to change too much. I mean, Pepe scored both goals against them last season at home. Like you might look at that and think, is it worth bringing him back in and, freshening it up a little bit? But yeah, I could see him playing the midfield too again. Yeah.
I mean, annoyingly, even if we, such was our poor start to the season, even if we beat Brighton, we don't actually go above them. But shall we take some predictions, guys? How do you think it's going to go? Aaron, I will go to you first.
I will go 2-0 away win.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal.
Ooh.
I think it might be a really good game. But yeah, I'm going to go 3-2 on absolutely no, basing it on very little, because like I said, I haven't really thought about the game.
I am going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win.
All very confident after.
Yeah.
I think so, and I feel we should be. I feel like we should be. I think if we went with anything other than predicting a victory, then I think it's just us kind of being, almost scarred by the Arsenal of past. But we've won 3 games on the bounce, and we should be beating Brighton. Right, as I said, after watching them the other day, I really didn't think there was too much about them. We could go, if we win, we go potentially to the dizzy heights of 7th, which would. It's better than we finished last season. I mean, we probably won't, because obviously we need all the other results to go our way. But it certainly sets us up in a pretty positive light. We currently are 4 points behind the likes of Man United, Chelsea, Man City. It's really not that far at all. And I'm not saying necessarily that we should be using the top of the league as the very benchmark, but at the moment, guys, like, the gap isn't that big anymore, and we're feeling quite positive, aren't we? So I'm going to hesitate to ask this question, but have your expectations of the season and where we could finish changed? Have they changed at all?
Not for me, no. I can't remember where. I can't remember.
I said 5th. So
you said 5th. I think I can't remember what I said at the start of the season, but no, it hasn't changed for me at all, mate. 6 games in, 1-3, lost 3. Look, it's positive at the moment, but it only takes one bad result and everything changes. So, like I said, I just want to take it game by game and let's see where we go. But like 6 would be a lot of, 6 would be progress this season. So I think that's kind of got to be the aim. If we can get a push for top 4, then amazing. Like that will be exceeding expectations, but I personally can't see it over the course of the season. So yeah, no, expectations haven't changed for me, not yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Miles. I think that one of the main reasons for that is actually a point that you guys touched on before, which is injuries. I don't think that we are there yet to cope with any. Say if a couple of these guys get injured, I think that a couple of these guys are very, very important to the way we're playing right now, and I think that's probably the concern. But yeah, look, good. So it's good to see we're not getting too carried away. I mean, let's see how we feel when we, after the Brighton game. Maybe if we win, we will start to believe a little bit more. But it feels like I think that we have collectively been scarred enough to wait before we pass, too much more of a positive judgment. But look, let's just at the end of the day, though, like just say, like it's been such a proud week to be an Arsenal fan. Right, just going to a North London derby, having that result, like the way that it makes us feel as fans, I think maybe we should conclude by just commenting on how it feels like the connection between the manager, the team, and the fans in the stadium is well and truly back. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, like it. I kind of touched on it right at the start about we are. And we say this quite a lot. We are very, very privileged as season ticket holders, as fans that live, fairly close to the ground. We can go to games. We buy our season ticket to kind of go, for the games like Sunday, for the North London derby, in the sense that they're the games that we look forward to. And obviously, Arsenal got a huge fan base. There's a number of fans that would never have been to a North London derby. And one thing I will say is like there's clearly this. What can I say? Sort of social media fan base, if that's the right term, where as soon as there's a defeat, as soon as a player makes a mistake, it's kind of ridiculous how bad it gets, and the reaction to it. And if you were at the game on Sunday, and we can say this from being at the game on Sunday, that's not the case with match-going fans. Like it's very, very different. The fan base were united. Everyone was together. Everyone's behind Arteta. Everyone is behind the team. And I think even if we'd lost on Sunday, I don't think it would have been all that bad, like compared to some of the stuff you see on social media. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, don't believe everything not so much don't believe, but take everything you see on social media when it comes to reactionary stuff around Arsenal with a pinch of salt, because I mean, you can only describe it in so many words, right, Raj? Like for the people that were there, they will understand what I'm talking about. It was just an unbelievable experience on Sunday, even though we aren't very good at the moment and we haven't been very good for a few years, but that's not what it's about when you're kind of experiencing Arsenal winning a North London derby.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what, like the reaction after the game from us, the celebrations after the game for us, the the atmosphere in the concourse after the game, the atmosphere outside the stadium by the Tony Adams statue after the game.
Yeah.
Many of you would have seen the social media outpourings of that. It was so good. It was iconic. We'll never forget it. And we were again privileged enough to be able to drink around the stadium until 1 a.m. and then get cabs home. And I guess on that note, it is late in Budapest for Aaronen. And I think he's frozen like Elsa at the moment, so he's not saying much. But yeah, like it was a late finish. Then he probably needs to get some sleep. Yeah, I mean, he literally has frozen, hasn't he?
His data's run out, I think.
So yeah. So maybe we. Sorry, this is really, for those of you who can't see, if you listen to audio, Aaronen is buffering very heavily in very, very slow motion. So it looks
so
like
wrong, mate. That sounds so wrong. He's buffering very heavily.
Let's call it there so he can fall asleep. Cool. Listen, Mice, thank you very much. Aaronen, I don't know if you can hear, but thank you as well. And thank you everyone for joining and listening to this podcast. We again, we know how many options there are out there for football podcasts, for Arsenal podcasts, and we know this is an hour of your valuable time. So really, really appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe and share though. It is really appreciated. Every time we're still at that stage where we get 10 new subscribers and it's a huge deal for us, right? We're still at that point in our career, but it's really nice for us to be able to see our social media pages growing and having so much more interactions with people who listen, getting lots of great feedback as well. So please keep that coming. Really do appreciate it. So yeah, so look, That's bye from me. Aaronen, you want to say something because it seems like you're back?
I am back. I actually did want to say something because it was when Myers was just saying how lucky we are to go to games. And I posted a video of some of the singing, right? And it went viral. But a guy called Just Do DMG, right? So a lot of people were commenting saying, oh, this is great. One day, very soon, I will live this, being the game stadium, because then I'm okay with God taking me when he chooses.
Wow.
So, just a DMG, respect, brother.
Wow. Fair. That's deep. That's deep. Wow. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I don't know what to say. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean,
and on
that note, great. Thank you, everyone. Good night, and we will talk to you after the Brighton game. Thank you for listening.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.